He chose the hidden beauty, discover the life-changing moment that revealed true love. Jake had never been one to shy away from hard work. The grease under his nails and the rusting cars that lined the streets of Oakwood were reminders of his journey, a 30-something mechanic shaped by a lifetime of expectations. Yet, amidst the crumbling dreams of his neighbors, he felt a flicker of hope. His evenings were dedicated to breathing life back into the town's neglected community center, transforming it into a sanctuary for Lily, his estranged teenage sister, and other youth trapped in the vice of uncertainty. Each stroke of paint was a whisper of promise, a promise that whispered louder with every passing day. Then Sophia crashed into his world like a burst of color on a gray canvas. An urban artist with a fire in her spirit, she entered the community center armed with brilliant ideas that danced wildly against Jake's pragmatic vision. He had plans, she had dreams. They often clashed. But there was something about her, a spark of optimism that chased away the shadows cast by closed factories and empty streets. Her laughter rang like music, flushing warmth into his soul long buried beneath family responsibilities and endless worry. It shook Jake awake, awakening a longing he'd kept locked away. As they worked side by side, their connection deepened. He found comfort in her presence, even as whispers began to spread like wildfire through Oakwood. "Who does she think she is?" they muttered in coffee shops. "Art isn't going to pay the bills," they scoffed at town meetings. He felt the tension, the weight of loyalty to his roots pressing down hard. A silent battle brewed inside him, pitting his duty to family and tradition against the budding romance with Sophia. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every late-night brainstorming session brimmed with energy until that fateful town hall meeting. The air crackled as community members gathered, the tension thick enough to cut. Voices rose and fell, ignited by fear of outsiders and a nostalgia for what once was. Jake stood at the center of it all, in the crossfire of family legacy and a burgeoning love. The weight of their eyes, friends, neighbors, family pressed hard against him. He could hear their hushed judgments, feel them hot against his skin. Just when he thought he could speak his truth, a painful revelation emerged, shattering his resolve. The room dimmed around him as he stood paralyzed, his heart pounding like a wild drum. He had faced many challenges as a mechanic, but this felt different. This was more than metal and grease, this was his own heart on the line. Surrounded by hesitation and hope, Jake found himself at the precipice of a choice, clinging to the expectations of the past or daring to embrace a future steeped in love, acceptance, and possibility. Would he have the courage to break free and choose the life that called to him? One question hung in the air, echoing with certainty: could love truly overcome the heavy expectations of the past? Jake stood frozen in that dim, charged room, the air thick with all eyes upon him. It felt like he was unraveling, unspooling in front of a community that had always known him as the dutiful mechanic. But what did they truly know about him? How he spent his nights painting walls, breathing life into dreams that felt so far away? Or how seeing Sophia's passion ignited something deep inside him, a yearning to break free. As whispers around him swirled, he could feel the walls of expectation closing in, ready to swallow him whole. He glanced at Sophia, standing a few feet away, her vibrant spirit a beacon amidst the storm. Her eyes shone with hope, a contrast to the heavy frowns forming in the faces of familiar neighbors. He wondered how they could not see what he saw, the potential wrapped in color, laughter, and unity. Couldn't they feel the energy vibrating in the walls they deemed unworthy? Taking a deep breath, Jake tried to find his voice, but all he heard was silence wrapping around him like a fog. The kind that seeped into your bones and made you second-guess every decision you've ever made. Was he really prepared to stand against the tide of skepticism? Behind him, Lily caught his eye, her expression a mix of support and confusion. He wished he could tell her that it was more than just the community center, more than the paintings, it was about what they could build together. Suddenly, the mayor's voice cut through the tense air, announcing the decision to allocate funding, albeit begrudgingly, for refurbishing the community center under strict guidelines. The room erupted into chaotic applause, but it felt like nails on a chalkboard to Jake. He didn't want half measures. He didn't want more restrictions. He wanted to be daring. He wanted to create a place where art thrived, where dreams weren't stifled by tradition. He turned back to the crowd, the silence now a demanding presence. No. The word burst out of him with force, unexpected even to himself. This isn't just about money or rules. This is about possibilities. This is what we want, isn't it? He could feel the shockwaves, the gasps rippling through the crowd. A low murmur grew, then rose to a crescendo of voices. Some supported him, while others grumbled about the need to uphold the way things have always been done. And for the first time, Jake realized it was not just his fears he was confronting here, it was their fears as well, fear of change, fear of unknown futures. What would happen if they embraced a vibrant, unpredictable hope? Jake's heart thundered in his chest. If we don't take this chance, we're letting our history define us. We can be more. We are more. The words flowed out, each one a call to arms, even though doubt gnawed at his insides. He turned to Sophia, her eyes wide with a mix of admiration and surprise. She believed in him, not just the center. And now, with barely a nod, she stepped forward, ready to stand beside him. When the meeting adjourned, Jake felt both exhilarated and terrified. He didn't know how the townsfolk would ultimately respond, but he was done living in silence. Stepping outside into the cool night air, a sense of liberation flowed through him. The stars twinkled above like distant dreams, promising something beyond the struggles of today. Yet, doubts nagged at him. Was this the turning point he so desperately sought? He turned to Sophia, but before he could voice his thoughts, she glanced up, the moonlight casting a glow around her face. Jake, I need to tell you something. What secrets hid behind her eyes, and would this deeply emotional moment carry him further into the unknown? Sophia took a deep breath, her words hanging between them like a fragile thread, waiting to be pulled. I've been thinking about us. The moonlight illuminated her face, and for a moment, Jake was lost in the warmth of her gaze. Was this at the moment when everything would change? What about us? Jake asked, heart racing. Could she feel the surge of hope that ignited in his chest every time he saw her? He hesitated, scared of the answer. She shifted on her feet, as if grounding herself, the uncertainty palpable. Jake, I see what you're trying to do with the community center. I see how much it means to you, how much it means to all of us. But I'm worried. Her voice trembled slightly. What if they don't accept it? What if they don't accept you? Is that what you think? His stomach churned. He didn't want her doubts to become his own. I'm not asking for acceptance, Sophia. I'm asking for a chance to dream. Her eyes softened, but sadness flickered through. I know, and that's what's brave about you. But dreams can be fragile. What if you put everything you have into this and it fails? What if you lose yourself in the process? Her worry struck deep, echoing his own fears. The thought of pouring everything into this venture only to see it crumble felt like the ultimate betrayal. But he couldn't let fear win. Not now, not after everything. What if it doesn't fail? What if it inspires someone? What if it brings this town together? I want that for you, Sophia said, stepping closer, her voice barely above a whisper. But I also want you to be sure of us, of what we mean to each other. Jake felt a rush of emotions wash over him. The connection they had was undeniable, forged in countless moments, shared laughter, late-night talks, and the unspoken understanding that comforted both of them. What do you mean sure? He asked, leaning in, desperately seeking her clarity. She looked away, her hands nervously twisting together. I don't want to feel like a second thought, like you're chasing this dream while I'm just a side piece. The word second thought cut through him. It was never the case, but the fear felt real in her eyes. You could never be a second thought to me, he assured, softness replacing the urgency in his voice. You inspire me. Every brushstroke I make has a part of you in it. He reached out, his hand enveloping hers, feeling the warmth, the pulse of possibility. Sophia glanced down, her brows knitted with contemplation. But what if pursuing this dream pulls you away from us? What if you dive so deep into your art that you forget about what we have here? I want tea, Jake promised, squeezing her hand. But I need your support, and I need you to believe in this as much as I do. Together, we could make something remarkable. As a moment of silence enveloped them, Jake sensed his heart battling inside him. Would he take the leap into the unknown, not just for himself, but for them? In that quiet, freezing moment, he realized he needed to test the limits of his own courage not just for his dream, but for the bond they shared. A light breeze swept through, carrying the scent of blooming jasmine. He breathed deeply, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. It felt like standing on a precipice, looking out at all the possibilities swirling like starlight across a velvety sky. Sophia, he began. What if we both dove in, together? What if we made this something ours? A place where we could explore not just art but our relationship? Wouldn't that be worth the risk? Her gaze met his, brimming with a whirlwind of emotions. Just then, a shout erupted from the street, breaking the tension like a crack of thunder. Jake! Sophia! Come quick! They turned, startled, and ran toward the commotion. What urgent news awaited them? Would it change everything they had just begun to untangle? The chaotic shouts reverberated through the night air, drawing them closer to the source. As they sprinted toward the sound, Jake's heart pounded, anticipation and dread swirling together. What could be unfolding out there, and would it pull them apart or bring them closer together? They rounded the corner onto Maple Street. A small crowd had gathered, its murmur a sea of worried whispers. What were they witnessing? Jake's eyes scanned the scene, searching for familiar faces as curiosity piqued. Over here. A friend from the art collective waved frantically. It's a car crash. One of the town's old trees, it fell on a car. A small gasp escaped from Sophia beside him. They both rushed to the spot, uncertainty mingling with fear. As they approached, Jake's breath hitched. A red sedan lay crumpled beneath the aging branches of an oak tree, its trunk splintered. Bright headlights flickered, casting eerie shadows as the chaos unfolded. Emergency lights flashed in the distance. Help was on the way, but they were still too far out. Is anyone inside? A voice cried. Jake could barely make out the shadowy figure hunched over in the driver's seat. His heart dropped. It wasn't good. Get back! Someone yelled, and everyone instinctively stepped away. Adrenaline coursed through Jake's veins as he glanced at Sophia, worry etched on her face. Jake, we can't just stand here, she urged, her voice cutting through the panic. He nodded, adrenaline sharpening his senses. Together, they dashed to the wreckage, shouting for the person involved. Can you hear me? Jake called out, desperate for an answer, praying for anyone to respond. The only sound was the creaking of the tree as if it were lamenting its fallen branches. Sophia knelt near the car, her voice steady despite the chaos. Hold on. Help is coming. She reached toward the window, trying to gain some connection with the trapped driver. Jake's thoughts raced. This moment, whatever was happening, felt monumental. The gravity of life, of community, of facing fears head-on. As he tried to keep his focus, he brushed his fingers against Sophia's hand. It was a lifeline, a reminder of their bond amidst the turmoil. As minutes stretched into what felt like hours, sirens finally pierced the night. A wave of relief tinged with anxiety washed over Jake. Help had arrived, but the fear of what they might uncover lingered heavily in the air. Suddenly, the firemen began to work, cutting through the frame to reach the injured passenger. The crowd gasped, everyone holding their breath. It was as tense as waiting for a storm to pass. Time seemed to freeze as they pulled the driver free. Relief surged through Jake when he saw the paramedics swiftly assessing the situation. The figure was alive, the operator alive. He caught a glimpse of a familiar face, Mrs. Miller, the sweet elderly woman from the bakery. In that shocking moment, everything changed. The chaotic backdrop faded away, revealing the raw strength of community in a crisis. Sophia squeezed Jake's hand tighter, and he could feel the pulse of connection between them growing stronger. This was the life they wanted to shape, a life woven with compassion and purpose. As the paramedics rushed Mrs. Miller away, Jake turned to Sophia. This is what we fight for. He gasped, the weight of realization settling in his chest. But what if it's all fragile? she whispered, uncertainty creeping back into her voice. What if we lose it? He looked deep into her eyes, feeling every moment swell with purpose. Then we hold on tighter. Together. As the crowd began to dissipate, Jake felt a budding courage ignite within him. They had faced a terrifying slice of reality tonight, but they could build something beautiful from the ashes. And there, under the fragile embrace of the oak tree, a strong hope unfurled within him. But he needed to hear it from her. Sophia, will you pursue this dream and stand by my side no matter how frightening it gets? Her gaze held the promise of 1,000 unspoken words. I want that. But it wouldn't be easy. Just as they leaned in to share a moment that could anchor them, the sound of an engine revving caught their attention. A motorcycle sped past, glimmering under the streetlights, leaving a cloud of dust in its wake. It roared like a beast unleashed, cutting through the fleeting moment of vulnerability. What was that? Jake asked, watching the figure fade into the distance. Sophia's eyes narrowed, a new determination igniting her spirit. What if that's a sign? What if it's time to be bold? Jake felt the thrill of possibility course through him. They had just faced down fear, and now was their moment to embrace change. Let us chase what matters, he said, meeting her gaze with fierce intensity, and as they turned to leave the scene together, the thrill of newfound strength surged within him. Would they muster the courage to face the hidden beauty awaiting them? Or were the obstacles ahead still too great to overcome? The silence that followed the motorcycle's roar felt heavy, like the air before a summer storm. Jake turned to Sophia, his heart racing at the opportunity unfurling before them. The chaos from earlier hung in the air like a distant echo, yet they stood at the brink of something new. Do you think it's someone we know? He ventured, glancing back toward the empty road. The night felt charged with expectation, as if the universe waited for them to act. Maybe it's a sign, like we're meant to go after something more. Sophia hesitated, an ember of longing igniting in her eyes. You know how we talked about leaving this place? The idea of creating something vibrant? Jake nodded. He felt it too, that small spark of adventure. Maybe our moment is here, he said. Maybe that was our push. They stood close, words hanging between them, a connection deepened by the night's earlier events. The earlier chaos had woven their hopes together more tightly. Let us go. Come on. Sophia tugged at his hand, leading him in the direction of the motorcycle's sound. He followed, inspired by her energy, enthusiasm radiating off her in waves. They dashed through the night, laughter mingling with urgency. Each step felt lighter as they put distance between themselves and the wreckage. The thrill of the chase replaced their previous worries. Where are we going? Jake laughed, breathless now. Anywhere. She shouted back, her spirit infectious. I want to feel alive, Jake. I want to feel everything. They arrived at a clearing, a park that shimmered under the glow of streetlights. Safety and darkness blended together, but beyond it, the unknown dazzled. The faint sound of a motor echoed through the trees, promising adventure just out of sight. Jake felt electric as they reached the edge of the park. Okay, we'll wait for the next bike, he exclaimed, glancing around. They found a bench and settled in, excitement buzzing in the air. Minutes passed, but it felt like hours. What do you think they're like? Sophia pondered, leaning back and gazing up at the stars. People on bikes. Out there living their lives. Free, Jake replied thoughtfully. Uncontainable. He turned to look at her, the contours of her face illuminated softly. And just maybe, they know something we don't, Sophia chuckled, her laughter melting into the night. You think they're looking for something too? Maybe they found it. Maybe that's why they ride. The thought hung in the air, stirring a blend of hope and possibility. Each pulse of energy seemed to echo what they both felt deep down, a yearning for more. Suddenly, the sound of a motorcycle revving cut through their reverie. Bright headlights pierced the darkness ahead. Jake's heart quickened in response, anticipation clenching in his chest. Here it comes! He shouted, his voice bubbling with enthusiasm, and they stood swiftly as the motorcycle neared, coming to a halt before them. The rider looked up, helmet shining in the light. As she removed it, a cascade of dark hair spilled down her shoulders, framing a warm smile. "Hey!" she called out, her voice bright and inviting. "What is a couple of kids doing out here?" Jake and Sophia exchanged glances, the air thick with unspoken possibilities. "We're looking for adventure," Sophia announced boldly. "Then you picked the right night," the writer said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Want to join me?" Jake could feel the pull of the moment enveloping them. This chance, this vibrant spirit could be exactly what they needed. He sensed Sophia's excitement beside him, her hands slipping into his. "Are we really doing this?" He wondered aloud, exhilaration and fear blending at the edges. Sophia met his gaze, eyes wide with possibility. "What if this is what we've been waiting for?" With a deep breath, Jake took a step forward, feeling the weight of the decision settle in that small space around them. "Let us go," he said, threading his fingers through Sophia's. As they approached the bike, Jake felt the thrill of the adventure looming ahead. What would this night bring? What hidden beauty awaited them on the road ahead? "Hang on tight," the writer shouted, and before he could process anything else, Jake slid onto the bike behind Sophia, hearts racing in unison. But beneath the excitement, a question lingered. If they embraced the journey, what would the implications be for their dreams as they rode into the unknown? The wind rushed past them as the motorcycle roared to life, a powerful engine revving under them. Jake's heart pounded, each beat amplifying the thrill of the ride. He wrapped his arms around Sophia, feeling the heat radiate from her body, the spark of their shared adventure igniting something deep within him. The world behind them faded into a blur, and all that mattered was the road ahead. Sophia laughed, her voice rising above the roar of the wind. "This is amazing," she shouted, and Jake could hardly see her face, but he could feel her excitement thrumming through him. They were no longer just kids from a small town dreaming of something more. They were adventurers, seekers of joy, and night riders under the stars. The rider maneuvered the bike effortlessly, twisting through the empty streets like a dancer gliding across a stage. The cityscape melted away, replaced by the open road that beckoned them into the unknown. Streetlights faded into the backdrop of darkness, where moonlight painted the asphalt silver. "Where are we going?" Jake yelled, trying to keep his voice steady over the rush of the night. "To find the horizon," came the writer's joyous reply. "To feel the freedom we always talked about, no limits, no rules." Jake exchanged a glance with Sophia, her eyes sparkling with unrestrained delight. This was exactly what they craved, a breath of fresh air after weeks of feeling trapped in their own lives. They were no longer bound by the expectations of their hometown, they were free. Minutes stretched as they cruised along the winding roads. The rush was intoxicating. Jake could feel the weight of everything they had left behind: uncertainty, fears, old expectations, all melting away with each mile. The experience thrust them closer together, their laughter mingling with the night air, stitching their hearts like an invisible thread. Then, as they rounded a curve, the bike slowed and the rider pulled into a small roadside diner, swinging the headlights across the neon sign that flickered in the dark. The open sign buzzed, casting a warm glow inviting them in. "I thought we were searching for adventure, not breakfast," Sophia teased, climbing off the bike and shaking out her hair, still grinning. "Adventure can come in many forms," the writer said, removing her helmet and revealing cheerful features and an adventurous spirit. "Sometimes, it's just about sharing stories over pancakes." Jake stepped down, his nerves still electrified by the rush of the ride. A small diner felt worlds away from the excitement they had just experienced, but maybe that was part of the journey, finding wonder in unexpected places. They settled at a booth, and as the smell of coffee and fried food wafted to their noses, Jake glanced at Sophia. She was lost in laughter, animatedly chatting with their new friend, and he felt a warmth spread across his chest. "What are you both running from?" the writer asked, her smile fading slightly but her gaze remaining curious and caring. Jake hesitated. This was the question that always lurked, waiting for them to confront it. But did he want to lay bare the struggles that haunted him? In that diner, amid clinking cutlery and soft chatter, he felt the suffocating weight of answers he wasn't ready to provide. Sophia glanced at him, her eyes a mix of curiosity and concern. The momentary silence stretched, the diner's laughter swirling around them like a fog, but it did not drown out their thoughts. What were they seeking on this journey? And would they find what they were truly looking for, not just on the road, but within themselves? As the waitress approached, Jake took a deep breath, ready to dive into the unknown, unsure of where it could lead. "I guess we're hoping to discover something real," he finally said, feeling the truth alight in his chest, but just as he finished, a loud crash echoed from outside, causing their heads to snap around in shock. "What was that?" Sophia exclaimed, her voice laced with urgency. Jake's heart raced again as he met the rider's eyes. Were they truly ready for whatever awaited them now? The door to the diner swung open suddenly, a blast of cold air following in, wrapping around them like a shroud. Out of the shadows stepped a figure, silhouetted against the glow of the neon lights. The clattering of dishes paused as everyone turned to gauge the seriousness of the interruption. Jake's stomach knotted with anxiety. It felt like the world outside was beckoning for their attention, yet there was a warmth inside, an inviting slice of normalcy. "Jake! Sophia!" The voice broke through the tension, and Jake's heart dropped. It was Mark, a kid from their hometown, his eyes wide and frantic. Behind him, Jake could see the red and blue lights flashing. The sirens began to wail softly, painting the night with urgency. "What are you doing here?" Jake shot back, panic pulsing in his veins as he instinctively moved closer to Sophia, protecting her from whatever might transpire. "I need your help. It's Maddie, she's in trouble. I saw the crash." Mark's voice trembled, and he gestured toward the road they had just sped down, his panic contagious. Jake's focus shifted rapidly between Sophia and Mark. The joy of the night, the escape they'd found, felt like it was slipping through his fingers, like grains of sand. Was this truly what they were looking for? The freedom had been intoxicating, but now the weight of the outside world crashed back and Sophia grabbed his arm, her eyes searching his. "Jake, we can't just leave her. We should go." Mark chimed in, desperation lacing his voice. "She's hurt, Jake. You know she's counting on you. We need to get to the car." The boldness of their adventure turned brittle, shattering against the realities they wished to leave behind. Jake felt his feet freeze, the thrill replaced by uncertainty and the fear of facing what he had tried so hard to escape. "What happened?" he managed to croak out, though part of him didn't want to know. "She flipped the car. She didn't see the curve. I was there. I tried to help, but," Mark faltered, steeling himself with a deep breath. "I don't know if I can do it alone." Sophia's grip tightened on Jake's arm, a stark reminder of their connection, and he could see her fear reflected back at him. The moment they had just shared, filled with laughter and pancakes, now seemed distant, almost like it belonged to a different life. "I can't let her down," Jake whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "We need to go." With that, he turned on his heel, the rush of adrenaline between duty and desire igniting once again in his chest. They slid from the booth and walked toward the door, the weight of their decisions hanging in the air like the hum of the diner's neon lights. As they rushed outside, the cool night air hit them like a splash of cold water, waking them to the reality of what lay ahead. The sirens' wails grew louder, and as Jake quickened his pace, he felt Sophia's hand slip into his. "Together, right?" she murmured, her voice steadying him in this chaos. Jake nodded, realizing their adventure had transformed into something unexpected, an opportunity for courage, a test of their bond. Just as fear mingled with hope, the shadows of their past weighed over them. What awaited at the crash site was unknown, and Jake felt a deep stirring within, a need for clarity amid the chaos threatening their adventure. As they approached the source of the flashing lights, a cold shiver ran down his spine. Would they face not only Maddie's fate but their own insecurities and fears as well? Would this journey lead them to uncover what was truly important, not just the horizon but themselves? Before they reached the scene, a distant, muffled cry pierced through the air, and Jake's heart sank. What awaited them just beyond the corner could change everything. Jake's pulse quickened as he rounded the corner, leaving the diner's warmth behind. There it was, the crumpled wreck of a car, a metal shell twisted and displaced like a toy left behind. The flashing lights painted everything in an unsettling light, making the scene feel surreal. "Stay close," Jake urged, glancing over his shoulder at Sophia, whose face was pale yet resolute. Mark sprinted ahead, fear driving him as he approached the gathering crowd. Jake could see people milling around, their faces cast in grim concern. It felt as if they were all drawn to the wreck in slow motion, the echo of sirens blending into a haunting backdrop. When they reached the scene, Jake found himself frozen momentarily, the reality hit him like a slap. Maddie was inside that car, his friend, the girl who had once laughed at his jokes and shared his secrets. He scanned the area, searching for signs of life, for any hint that this was just some elaborate nightmare he could wake up from. Mark shoved through the small crowd, but Jake hung back, uncertain. He felt Sophia squeeze his hand tighter. "We have to go to her," she insisted, her voice steady despite the tremor in her grip. With a deep breath, Jake propelled himself forward, steeling his heart against what he might find. The sounds around him started to fade as he homed in on the wreck. He couldn't let fear take over. Maddie needed them, and beyond that, they needed to find themselves amid this chaos. As they edged closer, the scene became clearer. Maddie was lying on the ground, her face pale and smeared with dirt and blood, a sight that clawed at Jake's insides. Paramedics were working swiftly, their faces grim yet focused. A familiar voice reached him, breaking through the blood pounding in his ears. "Jake! Sophia!" It was a friend from school, someone else who'd come to help. "She is conscious but needs immediate attention. We're trying to stabilize her." Jake's throat tightened, words caught like a wayward fish. "What can we do?" he asked, desperation flooding his voice. "Just stand back for now," the medic said, motioning them to step aside. But before he could shift, Maddie's eyes flickered open, a hint of recognition softening her features as they settled on Jake. "Jake," she whispered, her voice barely audible beneath the chaos. "Hey, I'm here," he breathed, feeling a rush of emotion as he knelt beside her, close enough to grasp her hand. "Just hang on, Maddie. Help is coming. We're all here." Her grip on his hand tightened, almost instinctively, and he could see the strength in her gaze, however faint. In that small connection, something deep sparked within him. It was more than fear, it was determination, a fierce resolve. They had to pull through. The paramedics continued their work with grim efficiency, and Jake's heart sank as he caught glimpses of the equipment needed for her transport. The flashing lights reflected the urgency that radiated from the scene, yet he felt a flicker of something else, a shared strength, a community gathered to support one another. Sophia's presence anchored him, her steady hand on his back as they faced the reality of the moment. "We're in this together, Jake," she reminded him softly, as if to reassure both of them. Just then, Maddie's eyes flitted back and forth between Jake and Sophia, a mixture of confusion and trust reflecting in her gaze. "You came," she murmured, her breath shaky but sincere. "Always," Jake promised, the weight of the world collapsing with those simple words. But the inner turmoil within him stirred. What would become of them after this moment? Were they prepared for the scars this would leave? As the ambulance doors swung open, pulling Maddie from their grasp, Jake felt something shift inside him. This night wasn't just about saving Maddie, it was forcing him to confront everything: his fears, his friendships, his unspoken feelings. And as the paramedics worked hard to load Maddie in, panic surged through him once more, mingling with an unexpected hope. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: they were all on a precipice, teetering between heartbreak and hope. "Can we go with her?" Jake called out, voice shaking with anxiety. "Yes, but hurry." The medic shouted back, urgency layered in every syllable. As they rushed toward the ambulance, Jake's heart raced, beating with the weight of their world and the adrenaline from the encounter. The door slammed shut behind them just as he caught sight of Mark, his face full of gratitude and fear. In that moment, Jake knew it wasn't just Maddie who needed saving, he had to save himself too. Could they emerge from this together, or would the shadows pull them apart? They climbed into the back of the ambulance, steering into the unknown, diving into the chaos once more, but this time, with a thread of hope weaving through their frantic hearts. What would they find on the other side? The ambulance jolted forward, sirens wailing a haunting melody that filled the small space. Jake sat beside Maddie, his heart pounding as he watched the paramedics work. Their hands moved with practiced precision, but he could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing on his chest. Maddie's breaths were shallow, each one a reminder of how fragile life could be. "Stay with me, Maddie," he whispered, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. Her eyelids fluttered, but she seemed to hover between two worlds, one filled with pain and fear, the other shrouded in darkness. Sophia leaned in closer, her face etched with worry, searching Maddie's eyes for a sign of assurance. "You've got this, Maddie. Just keep holding on," she said, her voice a calming balm against the chaotic backdrop. It was a double-edged sword, hope mingled with dread as Jake sensed the stakes rising higher. Maddie's voice emerged like a haunting echo, fragile yet resolute. Her gaze settled on him, penetrating through the fog of pain. "I'm scared." "I know," he said, his voice cracking. "But you're not alone. We're right here with you." The paramedic beside them quickly checked Maddie's vitals, his expression focused but calm, like a lighthouse guiding them through a storm. "She's stable for now. We'll be at the hospital soon," he reassured them, though Jake sensed the unease in his gaze. Each bump of the ambulance sent jolts through Jake's chest. He could only think of the memories they shared, late-night talks, shared jokes, promises that felt eternal. What if this was the last memory they'd have? The thought twisted inside him, a dark shadow he struggled to banish. Suddenly, Maddie's grip tightened around Jake's hand, pulling him from his thoughts. "Jake, tell me it's going to be okay," she pleaded, vulnerability breaking through her pain. "I promise," he said, squeezing her hand tighter, convinced that maybe his words could infuse some magic into the air. "You're going to be okay. I'll be right here every step of the way." The ambulance pulled into the hospital, the lights casting frantic shadows on the walls. As the doors swung open, chaos erupted. Medical personnel rushed in with carts and tools, their voices blending into a frantic symphony. Jake's heart ached. They were losing their intimacy, this fragile moment where hope hung by a thread. He looked at Sophia, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears, and felt their bond strengthen. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. "Stay close," Jake urged Sophia as they were guided to the waiting area. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting a clinical brightness that felt far too harsh for the emotional turmoil enveloping them. They settled into chairs, the weight of silence pressing down on them. Hour after hour bled into each other. The sterile scent of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, mingling with anxiety. Jake kept checking the clock, counting each tick as if it were trying to steal away Maddie's chance at life. "I can't help but think," Sophia began, her voice trembling slightly. "What if things change? What if we lose her?" Her eyes glistened with tears. Jake turned to her, the truth heavy on his tongue. "The truth is, we don't know what's going to happen. But we have to believe she is fighting." Just then, a doctor emerged, her expression serious but empathetic. "Jake? Sophia?" Every worry, every fear gripped Jake's heart as they stood. This was the moment of truth they dreaded, the revelation that could shift their lives forever. "What's happening with Maddie?" They both said in unison, holding their breath, waiting for the answer that would seal their fate. In the silence, Jake felt the ground shift beneath him, uncertainty looming like a dark cloud. Would this night bring salvation or heartbreak? And most importantly, would they find the strength inside themselves to endure what came next? The doctor wore a gentle but firm expression, her body language calm even as tension crackled in the air. "Maddie has been stabilized. She is conscious now, but she will need surgery. The impact caused some serious injuries, but I believe she'll pull through." Relief flooded Jake's body, a wave washing away the weight of uncertainty that had been crushing him for hours. He felt Sophia clutch his hand tighter, sharing in the moment of fragile joy. Despite what lay ahead, they had a glimmer of hope. "Can we see her?" Jake asked, his voice steadier than he anticipated. "Not yet. We need to prep her for the operating room. But she is awake and aware. I'll let you know as soon as you can see her." As the doctor turned and hurried back down the corridor, Jake and Sophia shared a glance. In that moment, everything they just faced crystallized. "What do we do now?" Sophia's voice was soft as her eyes brimmed with unshed tears. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the adrenaline fade, but adrenaline was likely to surge again. "We wait. We have to be here for her. Show her she isn't alone." The hours dragged by in the waiting room. They shared stories, picking memories of Maddie that filled the spaces between conversations with laughter and warmth. It was a way to keep their spirits up and to keep Maddie's presence alive, even when she was further away than they wanted. "Remember when she did that backflip off the diving board right in front of everyone?" Sophia chuckled, her smile genuine, chasing away some of the shadows of the night. "Of course. She thought she was a superhero for a whole week after that," Jake replied with a grin.
You think she'll ever stop being so dramatic? Not a chance.
As they shared their laughter, Jake felt the connection between them strengthen. They were no longer just two kids from Oakwood with dreams, they were partners in facing life's challenges, both beautiful and terrifying.
When the doctor finally returned, Jake felt a surge of anticipation. She's out of surgery.
It went well, she said, a glint of relief in her eyes.
Can we see her? They both asked in unison again, desperation coloring their words.
Yes, but keep in mind she's going to be a bit loopy from the anesthesia.
Just be gentle.
When they stepped into Maddie's room, the faint scent of antiseptic greeted them, a reminder of the reality they'd just overcome. Maddie lay in the bed, her face pale but peaceful. Bandages covered parts of her body, but her eyes fluttered open at the sound of their footsteps.
Hey there, Jake whispered, kneeling beside her.
Jake?
Sophia?
Maddie murmured, her words slurred but bright with recognition.
Right here, Maddie.
You gave us quite a scare, Sophia said, stepping closer, her voice soothing and melodic. Maddie managed a tired smile, her eyes flickering between them.
Did I break something?
Jake chuckled softly.
Just your car, but you're going to be okay. We're here for you.
Maddie's brow furrowed as if trying to process everything, then she looked at Sophia.
Did you come with me?
Of course.
We couldn't leave you, Sophia said, holding Maddie's hand gently.
I don't want to be a burden, Maddie murmured, her voice quaking slightly.
Jake leaned closer, a fierce protective instinct igniting within him.
You're never a burden.
Friends don't leave each other behind.
With those words, something shifted in the room. Maddie's eyes grew warm with gratitude, and Jake could see the relief flood through her body. Their friendship, fortified by this experience, became a new foundation upon which they could build. Over the following days, as Maddie recovered and plans for her physical therapy unfolded, Jake knew that things wouldn't just go back to the way they were. He and Sophia had faced their fears, seen what true connection meant, and emerged stronger.
Jake?
Maddie said one day as they visited her, you really made me feel like I wasn't alone.
You weren't,
he assured her, his voice steady and filled with love.
And you are capable of more than you know.
Turning to Sophia, he expressed with sincerity, we all are. The hidden beauty in this journey wasn't just the dreams they were chasing, it lay in the bonds they were forging. Each brushstroke they had envisioned for the community center now translated into strokes of love and support within their circle. As they continued to work on their shared vision for the community center, transforming it into a haven, the impact of their intertwined lives became evident. Each meeting, each event, and even the smallest gathering grew vibrant with laughter, art, and a shared purpose, energizing the community around them. Jake looked at Sophia during one such meeting, a glow of hope radiating between them.
This is just the beginning, isn't it?
Absolutely. Sophia smiled back, her eyes sparkling with determination. And there it was, a shared understanding, a promise to cherish each moment, pursue adventure, and face whatever came with open hearts. They knew that love and the courage to embrace it was the most beautiful transformation they could hope for. From chaos to tranquility, from fear to love, they had all chosen the hidden beauty in their lives, and now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to catch our next exclusive stories.
This is the moment to show your support. Lend a hand and leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Don't forget to comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And remember, don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let's spread the love and courage.